Hi everyone, this is Shekhar. Today I will discuss about OpenAI Codex CLI. It's a lightweight coding agent that OpenAI has released just today. So I thought let me do a quick video introduction to that and see how it works. Probably we'll look at the source code of it as well. It's an open source project, so anybody can look at the code as well and just give you a feel of what this tool can do for you. If you have earlier tried Cloud Code, so it's on a similar line. So it's a terminal-based tool. So you install a command line client called OpenAI Codex, and then you can start using it. So I already have installed this tool, Codex minus help. So if I show you, these are basically the commands that this tool will give, and you can clone any Git repository, or if you have your existing Git repository, you can just run Codex on it. So if we just do that, we can say Codex. Right now it has done the, so just give me a second. Yeah. So I, so we don't need code, we need Codex. So let's just say Codex, and we basically have to specify which model we want to use. By default is it uses O4 mini. O4 is the latest version of OpenAI model, reasoning model. I prefer to use cheaper model to get started, so I will use 4.1 mini to get started. And we can say anything that we want, any question that we want to have from the code base. So right now I have cloned the Codex code on my machine. So I took this repository and just cloned it. And whenever I'm starting with the code, which is new to me, I try to understand the code. I look at which dependencies the code has, what's the code structure of it, and all that. So let's ask Codex to help us understand this code repository. So you can say, I'm just prompting, I'm a senior engineer or senior software engineer. Please get onboarded with this code base. Give me a document that explains how to quickly start contributing contributing to it. Only care about importance. Again, I'm not doing any prompting, I'm just putting in a prompt. So that let's see what it will do. So if you look at this, so it will tell you a bit about the configuration that you have given. So this is the directory on which it is working right now. This is the current working directory, which model you are using, and there are different approval mode. So if you go to the documentation, you will find there are three approval mode. The default is the suggest, in which it will just read the, so it's more like a read only. It can either read files, or it can also, it basically, for any doing the write act or any command it has to execute, it will still require the approval. But for anything other than any read permission, it basically will be fine. It will just read. If you want to make any code changes, you will have to give the auto edit, which means it will not ask any permission from you. It will be able to read and apply patches. And final is the full auto, which is basically it can do the shell command execution and all that. For in the auto edit mode, it will still ask you whether it should run the command or not for you. One thing that they have also mentioned in their documentation is that for Mac OS, they use something called Sandbox exec. So this is the tool that is inbuilt with in the Mac OS. And this is what they are using when they are trying to run any command. So it basically gives a small or a safe sandbox in which you can run the command safely. More or less everything is read only, but there are few writable paths like the temp directory or the PWD. And network access is blocked, so it does not work. So you try to make any network, or the agent tries to make a network call, it will not do anything. So that is what is work for Mac OS, and I'm using Mac OS. In Linux, they specify that you should be using Docker or any container. And Windows, they say it doesn't work. So these are the things like Windows, it does not work. For to run this command line tool, you need to have Node 22 or higher. So this is what is minimum required. On Windows, if you want to run, you can run it via WSL2, Windows subsystem for Linux, that you can do. Now let's see what it has done. So as you can see, this is the prompt that I gave. Then it is talking about what it has to do. It has to create a effective onboarding document, specify what all things will be required as part of it. Then it is reading some files. It's reading the files. So it basically is running in a loop, reading the files. and eventually it gives you a document which helps you quickly onboard into the project. So it is saying that's a lightweight coding agent that runs in your terminal. How to use it? You have to run this command quickly workflow that this repository uses. Then they are talking about some of the coding guidelines. So now it has not done what I was expecting. I wanted it to write a code walkthrough or a document that helps me understand the code. So I need a document that covers how to understand the code base, how to understand and navigate the code base. So let's see now what it will do. So what I'm actually looking for is something that helps me quickly navigate the tool, the code base for it. Now, there are few choices that they have made to build this project, which I found a bit surprising. First of all, it's a TypeScript based project, so that's why you're doing, or a Node.js based project. That's why you're using npm to install that, which is still fine. The thing that I found its code base is that if I look at the packages, and this is where I always start. So whenever I'm looking at a new repository, I try to look at its package JSON to see what dependencies it uses. So it uses something called Ink.js UI. It is using React. So it is the command line client is built using React, and it basically is using the terminal renderer for the React application in terminal, which is kind of surprising choice. There are many tools that they or libraries that they could have used to build the command line application, but I'm kind of surprised that they went with this. Uh, Apart from that, I think more or less everything looks similar, you as expected. Uh, I don't think there's anything interesting here. So if you know React and if you know how React-based applications work, the code will look similar. So it's a source directory in which they have hooks and all those things that typically you will find in the React application. Now it has given you now it has given a high level product structure where it is talking about what how the code is laid out, important directories of that. Then it is talking about the entry point, which is the cli.js, and this is basically pointing to cli.tsx. Now, quickly going here, this is the cli.tx. I have also imported this project in PyCharm. PyCharm is the editor that I use. So this is the entry point of this application. So it helps us figure that out. It uses a library called now to basically parse the command line terminals. Then it basically renders the app component which is there. Now, as you start looking at it, it will talk about the key component, and it talks about how it is laid out. It's talking about something called an agent loop. Now, looks like this is where all the agent logic is there. Then it talks about the code navigation. Help me, give me a code overview of, give me a of agent loop works. Yeah, so let's just ask it about the agent loop, and we can also open agent loop in our code. So if I do that, this is the agent loop. Again, you can see first if you look at so as you can see, there's a React icon here, cli.tsx, and if you go down, you will see that it is rendering a terminal somewhere. Yeah, it's basically creating the agent loop here. And the code will look like very similar to React. So I think there will be a component right now. As you can see, this is the app, which is the main component that it is rendering. And we go to agent loop. And if we go to agent loop, this is where the agent is running in a loop the task. The behavior of the agent is specified in a prompt, which is here, which is this prefix prompt that they have specified. And now there are some interesting things that you can see in it. They talk about the behavior of the agent, what it can do. It can receive input, it can look at the project context and files. It has to respond, stream response and emit function calls. It apply patches, run commands. So they work by creating patches and then applying them. Work inside a sandbox, a Git-based workspace, so that they can roll back as well. A log telemetry information, more details is available via the Codex. They also clarify that it should not confuse Codex CLI with the Codex language model. So OpenAI earlier had a model called Codex. So interestingly, they specify that it was many moons ago. So it's an old model, I think 2018, 2019, probably before that. So they help model understand that this is Codex is different from the earlier Codex. Then they are talking about again an agent, what it has to do. It has to resolve the user query completely before ending the turn and basically specify that in the instruction. Please resolve the user task by editing and testing the code files in your current code execution task. You are deployed a coding agent, so they're specifying that. And then they have specified some criteria that it has to adhere to. So they're specifying that you can work in any repository, even if it is proprietary. You can suggest or analyze for the code vulnerabilities. Interesting thing that I found is that then they have specified how to use the apply patch command, which is specifying how the diff patch will work and how it has to apply that patch. Then it is talking about some guidelines. An interesting thing that I found in this is uh, they are clearly specifying that only work on the thing that you have been asked to work on. Do not fix unrelated bugs or broken tests, because otherwise it starts focusing on more things than it should do. Another thing that I found interesting in this is they also specify that you don't have to add any copyright or the license headers. You do not have to do a git commit because the tool will do it for you. They also talk about whether it has to run pre-commit hooks as well. One more thing that I found very interesting in this prompt is this: once you finish coding, remove all inline comments. So typically, if you have been using LLMs for generating code, you would have seen that it generates a lot of comments in line with more or less every line. So now they are also instructing it that it should remove these inline comments as much as possible, even if they look normal, which is interesting. They also talk about whether to run the pre-commit if it is available for smaller tasks. They also say how to describe what the code changes have been done. Now, we asked the question around how agent loop works. It gives an answer that agent loop is the core class that manages the interactive loop between the CLI and the OpenAI API. What it is doing, it is using the OpenAI API. It maintains the agent loop, calls the run method, there are cancel and terminate policy to handle the approval policy. Then it talks about what are the main field, how the run method works. And you can also use a reasoning model as well, like O4 mini or O3 mini. They might give a better result, but I want to keep the cost down, so I'm using 4.1 mini. We used any other model apart from OpenAI? Yeah, we or Anthropic? I know the answer is no, but I just want to see what the model will respond. The reason it will not work is that because they are using the OpenAI client here. So this is what they are using. They create the OpenAI client somewhere. I think if you go up, you will find that yeah. So if we just find the references for it, we will see that it is creating the OpenAI instance somewhere. So let's just see that somewhere they will be creating the instance of this OpenAI client, passing in the base URL in case there's a base URL. They also pass some headers as well, which is interesting. Nothing more than that. They also specify some timeout as well. Then again, this is all. I think there is an interesting thing here, I think, is the run method, which we can probably look at. This is the run method. This is the agent loop that they are talking about. And it makes a call to the OpenAI. I think there will be a call to OpenAI. Yeah. So this is where they're making a call to the OpenAI, passing in the instructions and the previous messages. They are also specifying some tools as well. One of the tools that they're specifying is a shell function. That's the only tool that I can see they're specifying, and so on. And if we go back, we can see that so currently OpenAI Codex CLI is designed to work specifically with the OpenAI models. The code base and configuration revolves around OpenAI API. Model handling is tightly coupled to OpenAI API. The utility model uses fetches available model names from that CLI option. So I think there is right now, or at least tightly coupled with the OpenAI API. Now, this made me think whether we can use a abstraction which allows us to work with any other model, any other provider model. So in Python world, I use something called Light LLM. So there is something called Light LLM. It's a Python SDK. It can work both as a library as well as a server, and it allows you to switch the provider. So you can say that I want today I'm using OpenAI, probably GPT-4 1 mini. Now I want to use Claude Sonnet 3.7. So you have the flexibility to change models using a single API. So this is the kind of API that they provide, completion API. It basically gives you the response and it does the handling of conversion between multiple API signatures. I was hoping that we can also, if there is something like light LLM for JavaScript, because this is mostly Python, oof, maybe we can use that. In the repository, I can see there's something called light LLM JS. I don't know if it has any logic to do that. It doesn't look like, it's more like a proxy that they have rather than any light LLM JavaScript library. And I also Googled around and tried to find that if there is any light LLM, but looks like no.